Hello everyone. We are going to be discussing some topics. We're going to be discussing feminism, we're going to be discussing alternative fashion, we're going to be talking just what it's like being a woman and stuff. But we thought it might just be a bit more interesting to have something else to focus on while we're talking. So you're actually going to be watching us colouring. We've printed out some colouring pages. I just found these on Google. Don't know who the artists are.
Yeah. Credit to the artists,
Yeah.
whoever you are.
Whoever you are. But yeah, we just
Very
thought it would be a nice accompaniment. I'm Brooke. I run MAUDS Designs. You may, if you've already been on our site before, you may recognise the lovely Letitia, also known as Sempiterna.
Underscore.
Yeah, underscore. Don't forget the underscore. She's written a couple of blogs for us. She's been on a lot of our photos. And in fact, nearly every time that we've had a photo shoot, Tish has been really, really helpful. A lot of the stuff that we have wouldn't be here without her. So it's very important that we have Tish on the YouTube channel, of course. So yeah.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. Shall we get going?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I've got Barbie. Here we go.
I think I'm going to start with Gaga.
And then we'll work our way through these colouring pages as we
Yeah,
along.
let's keep them in reach because there's nice ones to look at.
Okay.
A nice spread for motivation.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I might go put some rainbow hair, so I'll start with pink.
Mine's gonna be a dark skin girl.
Oh, nice. Dark skin Barbie, you don't see it enough. Well, actually, you remember there was one.
It's a terrible colour.
Instant regret.
She's wearing leggings.
Do you remember there was like I had I don't know if she was mixed race. I had a mixed race Barbie, I think. It was like it was a beach girl.
Oh, was it Chrissy? Christy?
It might have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, I had a Chrissy doll.
But she was really cool. She had like a sarong and a cool bikini. And oh my god, it's been literally I've already gone outside the line.
Oh wow, this is
going amazing.
artists in practice right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make her plus size. I think her legs are a bit too
Yeah.
small for where I'm going with this.
I love it. But yeah, I don't know how. I don't keep up with toys enough to really
No.
know if inclusivity is really.
No, I
Changed.
actually went to Hamley's about 2 days ago,
Okay.
and there were those dolls. You know, they kind of like My Girl dolls.
Right.
And there wasn't a single one that looked like me. There wasn't one.
Still.
There wasn't one. Yeah, in
It's
2019.
crazy. But the thing is, you would have thought like it's not even like I always go back to Reese Witherspoon, as you know. but like Reese Witherspoon said, like it's not as if we're doing it out of charity. Like, oh, we think it'd be nice.
No.
There is a genuine market for, more inclusive toys and more inclusive films and books and all sorts of media.
People want to see themselves reflected.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important because, that saying, you can't be what you can't see.
Right.
It's important for young kids to see themselves reflected in the media they consume and to be able to imagine themselves as whatever they want to be, whatever they want to do. When I was a kid, I was majority playing with white dolls.
Right.
And that gave me then the ideas of like what beauty is, what aspirational things are.
Yeah.
Okay, we're picking terrible colours. She's just going to be whatever this colour is. I've had enough.
Okay, mustard stockings. That's
Yeah.
quite cute though. It depends what you do
Yeah.
with the dress, in all honesty.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
No, but I think your role models do begin with like the toys you play. Because
Yeah.
we see it now that like Polly Pocket has become huge
Yeah,
again.
huge. Like they're huge.
Something I've learned when I was trying to sort of research ideas for designs and stuff is that nostalgia itself will never go out of fashion.
Yeah, for sure.
Ever. But yeah. And that brings us on nicely to talk about female icons
Female
and role
icons.
models.
Who are some of your female icons?
Obviously Gaga.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Tish actually met at a Lady Gaga concert
6.5 or 7.
6.5, 7-ish years ago. And we've been friends ever since. So we both know that Lady Gaga has a huge part in our hearts.
Yeah.
Huge space. Aside from Lady Gaga, what are your Should we say top 3 or top 5 female?
I'd say top 3. 5 is a really long number.
Don't like that many
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah, give it 3.
Who are your top 3?
Well, a lot of my female role models. Are we just talking about music or
Anything.
anything? Okay. Well, it's a bit of a difficult question. I would definitely keep Gaga in that list.
Mm.
I don't know. I really don't know who my female role models are. I think it changes as I grow up. I really respect and admire Anne Hathaway. I feel like she really, like, I think she's great.
Yeah.
I think that she's someone that people our age at least have kind of followed through her career. You know, we were watching her in Princess Diaries, which I think is excellent.
It is.
And then, you know, I was watching her in The Dark Knight Rises and Les Miserables and all these things. I just think she's a great woman, and I think that she's also political minded, because I follow her on Instagram. And yeah, I think she's excellent. I think she's probably my favourite female actress. For sure.
As you already know, I really like Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what acceptance speech it was. I think it might have been for Gone Girl. No, I think it was after that.
Yeah. It was something, and she was very...
I think it was Glamour.
Yeah, it was
Glamour Awards.
when she was talking about directing as a woman.
Yeah.
And she was talking about representation in that speech, wasn't she, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, yeah. That's when she said, you know, like, there's a market for female leads and there's a market for...
Because she was told that there wasn't.
But there is. But it's like today, we went to see the video game exhibition at the V&A, and at the end, well, sort of in the middle, they had a section talking about, like, the more controversial aspects of video games, wasn't it? And they said that, was it 1% of video game developers are black?
It's ridiculous. It's
1%.
I think that's crazy. I think when you think about representation across the board, I remember looking at professors and who works as a professor, and again, it was something ridiculous. Like 1% of professors are black and female, and I'm just thinking, like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
There are so many black people and women going into education. How is it that we are not being represented in these things? And it disheartened me, because I was thinking about going into, like, academia, and then when I saw that I wasn't, like, people like me aren't represented at all, I was like, well, why would I bother trying to get into that then if people like me don't get jobs in that field?
That's true.
So
it's a tricky line, isn't it? Because you kind of think the fact that there isn't that representation there yet, there's almost a gap for you. Yeah. But then you also think, is life that kind where
for me,
you're just given a pass because you're someone that's 100%. You know, does it mean it's going to be harder for you? Because obviously people must have tried before and failed.
Yeah.
It's that tricky line, isn't it?
It's difficult to know. Who else are your female role models?
Definitely my friends.
Yeah.
I think so many girls have that, like, 1 or 2 or 3 sort of, like, close group, don't they? And they all just like, you dish to them, you've got your group chat, you've got all of that stuff. And I think that honestly makes... I look at the qualities of my friends and I kind of think I'd love to be more like this or more like that. So surrounding yourself with a mix of people really inspires you to do something, you know.
I think female friendships are so important, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sat next to you right now, but I think that they're so important. I've been in situations where I've not really had a group of female friends, and I think it's just the way you look out for each other and you help each other to grow. And I think that another thing that's really important is just the general idea of girls looking out for other girls, you know, putting aside this need to be jealous of each other, because that's what we're programmed to do. Like, oh, Brooke's got really nice hair, instead of being like, wow, you have really nice hair, I should be jealous of it and have that reflect on me, rather than just celebrating good things about other girls. I think that...
But it's funny, isn't it? Like, it all comes out when you have a drink and you go to a club toilet. And, like, we're able to do it then. We're able to do it when we're intoxicated. But when it's sober, and it's like, if I walked up to someone... Yeah, if I gave a random girl a compliment, you don't know what way it's going to go. Maybe they'll be really nice about it and be like, oh, thank you. Or maybe it'll be more like...
Yeah, that's because I went through a phase of going out of my way to compliment girls. Yeah. If I saw that they looked good, I went out of my way to compliment them and say, oh my god, you look really beautiful, or I really like your coat. And a lot of the times girls would be like, oh my god, thank you, because they didn't expect it. And the only time that we receive compliments is when they are compliments and they're coming from men who were like your legs and stuff like that. So when you receive it from a girl and you know it's a genuine compliment, that feels really good. But also there's no kind of guarantee that that's the reaction that you'll get. Because some girls are just... I don't know why they react like that, but, maybe it takes them aback. Maybe they are not used to that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think we should make it a habit.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a pattern, isn't it, of thinking. Yeah. If you grow up thinking that it's you against every other girl, I know we're not explicitly told, not told in school.
But we think that,
it's subconscious.
Because, ultimately we're meant to compete with other girls for the attention and the approval of guys. Yeah. Which, it's kind of sad, because...
It's really sad.
We have so much to offer beyond that. I always come back to, when it comes to what women can achieve, I always come back to Mary Beard, who is a professor and a historian. Yeah. And she's achieved so much, but because she doesn't look like, I guess like Barbie, because she doesn't look like that, all her achievements were discredited and looked down upon because she wasn't quote unquote beautiful. And I think that's really sad.
Wasn't it the Olympics where they had like a Chinese kid like singing in one of the opening ceremonies, and then they actually got like another kid to lip sync?
Oh, because the kid wasn't cute enough?
Yeah.
What message does that send to the kid?
Yeah. So it is definitely like we are being brought up thinking a certain way, Yeah. It's like, even if you've got the talent, if you've not got the face to go with it, it's not marketable, or it's not... It's really sad thinking that way, isn't it?
It kind of reminds me of that moment in A Star Is Born. Yeah. She's like, because my nose is too big, and... Yeah. How's your colouring going?
Okay, I'm just doing a bit of shading, a bit of colour. Oh, you've got some rainbow hair going on. I've got polka dots.
Yeah, she is a brown girl with rainbow hair going on. Brown girl in the rain.
I also look a lot at, for me, like female-run businesses that have succeeded.
Yeah, who are your favourite female-run businesses?
So I started following like the Unicorn Lashes when they came out. They weren't Unicorn Lashes, and now they're Unicorn Cosmetics. Yeah, because they've just expanded massively. Yeah, like she had an original idea, which was the unicorn brushes, because the lashes themselves, I believe, I don't know, but I believe they're just like a private label that they put their own packaging on. But the brushes themselves, I remember she fully like designed all of them. She had like the prototypes made out of clay, and she was sending them to a factory, and she would like post updates. And now there's like 5 or 6 different like colorways of all the brushes. They've released lip glosses. Wow. Yeah, like even like glitter pigments and stuff they've released. And it's all online still. Like, they still haven't got a proper shop. One of my goals, I'd love a shop one day. But yeah, that was really cool just to see her growth. And it happened very quickly as well.
I think that's the good thing about the internet these days, is you can pretty much start a business and have it take off because of the way we're all connected.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember even when they started, like, they were getting their lashes out to like people in Little Mix and stuff wearing them. I obviously like them just because I like unicorns.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was when I was in my first year of uni, and I'm in 4th year now, so it's only been 3 years. They've gone from like that to, you know. It's cool though.
Do you think that businesses, especially online businesses, have any responsibilities?
100%.
What do you think those responsibilities are?
I think when you're a small business, what differentiates you from a corporation is obviously your individuality, of course, but then it's so much more personal. Like, I couldn't... If I order something off Topshop online, it might be lovely and it might, you know, be everything I want, but I'm not necessarily going to have like the handwritten notes. I'm not going to have the personal touch and things like that. So I think you have a responsibility to your customers to keep that relationship pure and keep it friendly. You know, especially when you're trying to make a name for yourself. When you do actually make sales, you want to make sure that they have a positive experience.
Yeah,
and stuff.
for sure.
But you know, when you've got companies like Zara, Dolls Kill, they have beautiful clothes, but so much of it is stolen from smaller designers. So I think that, for one, if you're going to be an online retailer, do something original.
Yeah.
And if you are going to use someone's designs, then just credit them somehow.
Or work with them.
Yeah, work
Support
with
the
them.
smaller business.
Give them a job.
Yeah.
Give them a check
Bring
for
them
the
onto
one
the team,
t-shirt
yeah.
you've stolen or whatever it is. You know, there's so many ways you can involve outside creativity without having to just...
Steal it.
Yeah, and I think it works out better in the long run.
I feel like this is going to be cut out.
I've seen a couple of instances where people have like pulled out. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to research it before I definitely say.
Yeah, before this goes live.
Could you imagine?
Get hit with a lawsuit straight away.
Yeah.
And so, what messages do you want people to take away from what you do as a business? What would you like? What would you like people to have the idea that that's what you stand for?
Definitely the freedom to dress in a way that makes you happy, because ultimately, like, yeah, my personal values are feminism and inclusivity and, you know, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I sell clothes and accessories, so more talking from the business perspective, it's having the freedom to just wear things that make you happy.
Right.
You know, I dress in a way that's slightly different to everyone else. I'm not saying everyone needs to start dressing like me.
Right.
But I think it's when you go out or you're doing something and you just make the effort to dress differently to how you normally do, and you feel really good because you're like, oh, I'm all dressed up. I want to have that feeling like every day.
Yeah, I do feel different when I'm dressed up. Like, you know, if I'm just going to the shops, then I'm just going to put on a pair of jeans and like a jumper. And, yeah, I'm just like blending in. But sometimes I do like to express myself with the clothes that I wear, and it's one way of putting your own image out into the world. This is what I stand for. This is the visuals that I want to surround myself with. You know, that's how I feel about pretty clothes. It's like I want to tell a story, and I feel like when you do dress up, you kind of tell that story, even if it's like, you know, a sparkly top and something like that. You're still telling a story, and I really like to do that when I dress. And I can't even say that I have one specific. You know, there's a lot of people, they like to wear rainbow or they like to wear whatever. I can't say that because sometimes I really like wearing black. Yeah. Or sometimes I really like wearing like red or you know, colours. I don't have a specific thing that I could consider myself, because I want to tell different stories, and I want to kind of express myself with.
It's funny though, because I see a lot of it, and I follow a lot of people who do commit in that way to an aesthetic, we'll say. And then I follow people who lightly follow, and then I follow people who just dress alternatively generally and will have like different looks all the time. Like Internet Girl, I don't know if you follow her.
No, I don't.
She's really cool. So she normally dresses quite gothic, but I wouldn't restrict her to a single aesthetic. She just always looks cool, whatever she wears. And it's like, it's funny now, because like we talk about it a lot when we say, if you're into dressing kawaii, for example, everyone within that subgroup, they're not just dressing the same way, but they're often dressing from like the same brands.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of, because the thing is, if you're into it, I mean, there are some kind of subcultures where they're very specific. You know, I got married in Lolita, and it's very specific. If you're wearing brands like Baby the Stars Shine Bright and Angelic Pretty, that's considered brand. And then if you get something that's frilly but from Forever 21, that's off-brand.
Yeah.
And like it's considered as being outside of Lolita.
Yeah.
But then when you think about other fashion styles, there are a lot of brands that kind of dominate that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that
Everyone should be allowed in.
Yeah.
Even if you're not wearing
brand, which is really expensive. It's
yeah.
I mean, dressing alternatively is expensive, and I think that's one way that it's almost exclusionary. Because if you look at the big brands, you're paying like £50 for a dress, and not everyone can afford that.
Yeah, and that's one outfit.
Yeah, one outfit,
and you haven't even got the accessories to go with it that supposedly make you part of that.
Yeah, it's really exclusionary, and I think that's something that should be addressed because. Let's be honest, it's just clothes. We don't have to keep it exclusive. And it's not even like we're going into the realms like Gucci and Prada and blah blah blah. We're literally it's just clothes. It's just a dress.
Yeah.
We don't need to keep it exclusive.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a general problem with alternative fashion, I find, because
definitely.
I don't feel like everyone is represented.
Yeah.
At all. I think that if you go on a lot of like blogs that repost alternative fashion bloggers, there is a specific type, and they're all very slim, very white,
or very pale Asian. I find as well. Very pale Asian girls.
Yeah, you won't see someone who's like Filipino or something like that. And I think, I mean, I've always dressed the way that I dress, even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I never got that point where I was like,
woke up one day,
I can't wear these things because I have dark skin.
Yeah.
I never had that.
Yeah.
But there have been times when I'm like, can I wear pastel pink? Like, I've not seen it on people that look like me. Can I wear that colour? And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I can, because I can put it on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can put it on my body. But I don't know. I think that we need to stop seeing it as like, oh, well, first of all, the big problem is that some of these brands don't go above like a certain size, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the second problem is that if you only portray certain people as able to dress in these fashion styles, it means that people who don't look like that, like me, start to think, can I wear this? Can I? And honestly, yes.
Yeah. Yes,
you can, because if you decide to wear it, you are part of the movement to change what alternative fashion looks like. And another interesting thing, I feel like I'm talking a lot. Another interesting thing that I noticed as someone who dresses alternatively and is black is you also find that certain people think that you're trying to be something that you're not. Right. Like, you'll get people saying, well, why are you trying to dress white?
That's crazy.
Like, dress white.
It's crazy.
What should I be wearing? Like, Rasta hats and like.
Oh my god! Could you imagine? That's just so not you, though.
Yeah, I do want to knit myself a pink Rasta hat. I think it would be fucking funny.
that would be sick.
Just
what, with like the pink and the yellow?
Yeah, it would be cool.
Right? Red, you can have a pink.
Yeah, like pastel Rasta hats. Oh my
Gap
god!
in the market.
I am gonna knit a pastel Rasta hat.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's like appropriating my own culture. The Rastas are like, here she is, Rast Trentina.
She doesn't even smoke.
I know. But like, that's what I mean. I just don't get it. Like, dressing white. Like, how do white people dress? Lederhosen? I don't like what. Like what? It doesn't make any sense.
I think that's the difficult thing with cultural appropriation as well, isn't it? It's like there's a line. There's definitely like mocking people. And stuff.
For sure, and not, you know, if you go into, I mean, I've seen it in brands where they're selling like Native American wool bonnets, and a lot of Native American people have said, we don't like you selling these things. And I think that we as consumers, and we have a duty to listen to them if they're saying it. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think, because recently I saw on Twitter that people who aren't, say, Chinese or Asian shouldn't celebrate Chinese New Year. And there were a lot of Asian people in the comments saying, no, please don't worry about this. We want you to celebrate Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
So I think that it comes down to the place where it's coming from, and what are the people saying? What are the people from that culture saying? Like, if you're from a culture and you, for example, are being persecuted for, I don't know, whatever cultural thing it is. Like, for example, I don't know, I can't really think of a good example, but if you're being persecuted for it and then I go and wear it and I'm free to wear it because I'm not from your culture, that is a bit disrespectful. Yeah. But then if it's something that's not really, it doesn't have any symbolism, it doesn't have any, I feel like I'm going to get cancelled.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a case-by-case study.
Yeah, I think that you really can't say blanket, this is from another culture, so it cannot be exchanged.
It's like Christmas is cultural appropriation then, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of nuance, and the problem with discussions like this on the internet is that a lot of nuance gets lost. A lot of, it's a very black and white discussion. Yeah. Sometimes literally. That this is wrong and you shouldn't do it. Yeah. Or this is good and this is woke and you should do it. When in real life there's so much. The conversation is so much deeper than that.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know.
I think wear what makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And if it's disrespectful, then just consider not doing it.
Yeah. Just wear what makes you happy and what doesn't upset too many other people for a good reason. What do you think, speaking of, like, you know, politics on the internet and things like that, what does the word feminism mean to you?
I think it's so much deeper than equality of the sexes. Mm-hmm. Because I will see so many people that will point blank say, if you believe in equality of the sexes, you're a feminist. Mm-hmm. And I think, obviously, but I think it's so much more important than that. Mm-hmm. Because I could say that to one person, and they could interpret that. There could be 99 people in the room, and one person could interpret that as, like, okay, so this means that we need more rights for women and we need equal pay. And then I can say it to someone else, and it could mean I just want to leave the house without being catcalled. I want to walk out. I want to walk outside at night feeling safe as I would if I was a man. And I could say it to someone else, and it could be like we need to stop putting so much pressure on men to be this like macho character. And I think they're all valid.
And even globally, when you think about it, because we live in a relatively safe country to be a woman. Yeah. When you look at, say, if you speak to a woman in a different country, these things are like luxuries. Yeah. And she would like to be able to go to school, or she would like to be able to, you know, not get raped. Yeah. I mean,
have
that,
genitals.
Yeah, mutilated. Yeah. So, I think it means a lot of different things globally. What does it mean to you?
To me, I think I focus a lot on the positivity side of things. And it's quite, like, for me, I had this kind of phase where I sat down and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, we're all definitely stronger together rather than having this whole competition mindset. So now, if I do get, like, it's natural to feel jealous of a girl that's stunning and she's something you want to be, but it's like, instead of thinking, well, I hate that girl, you know, like, it's thinking, okay, why do I actually dislike her? Is it for
Mhm.
something she's done? Is it something, you know?
Mhm.
It's changing that mindset of just
Mm.
immediate negativity,
Yeah.
and it's thinking, how can I make things better, not only for me, but for my friends who are girls and things like that.
Mm.
Another thing I focus on a lot is the male perspective of it,
Mm.
because I think, you know, sometimes it's not their place to say something,
Mm.
but I think a lot of the time they will have a valid opinion just because it's an issue that doesn't affect them.
Mm.
There's definitely something they can contribute. And I think as well, we're never going to make progress if we just say this is a woman's only issue
Yeah.
and this is, you
Yeah.
know, not your domain. I
Mm.
think everyone needs to be in on the conversation to get to that point
Mm.
where we're all happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that men need to be open to that
Oh,
conversation
yeah.
being had. I think that
There's so many men who would just not hear it.
have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think men need to be open, because one thing that I think is definitely true is that men have a lot to gain from feminism. They have a
Yeah.
lot to gain.
It upsets me when they don't want to
realise. Yeah, because
it's like it fucking helps you too.
this kind of leads the conversation somewhere else a little bit. But I saw this conversation about women doing drag, and the conversation basically is that a lot of people think that women who do drag are not valid drag artists,
Right.
because I mean, like, I'm sitting here in a wig, you've got big hair, you've got lots of makeup on, and those are traits of drag, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys are saying, well, how is it possible for a woman who is cis, or a trans woman even,
Yeah.
to do drag
Yeah.
if you know this is normal for us? And I think that I don't agree with that argument.
Yeah.
I think there are plenty of ways for women to be a part of that conversation. You live in Birmingham, where there are so many excellent women and non-binary people
Yeah.
doing drag.
Yeah.
But one of the arguments that I saw was that women get to participate in femininity all the time, and it's not radical when a woman is taking part in femininity. And leaving aside that debate, I think that it's important to know that femininity isn't something that women control. Like,
No.
this is something that was almost forced upon us,
Yeah.
and that men don't get to participate in femininity without being ridiculed
Yeah.
is not because women control it and women don't let them enjoy it. It's because femininity was looked down upon.
Right.
And I think that when we have these feminist conversations about femininity, it means that when we change the way we view femininity, when we change the way we see it as a negative, it means that also men can express themselves. They don't have to express themselves as what is described as toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
You know? That is washed away when you look at things from a feminist perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's not feminists that are saying that men need to go off to war and men need to go down the mines and men aren't allowed to cry and all these things. It's not feminists that are saying that.
Yeah.
That comes from exactly what feminists are fighting.
Yeah.
And so I think that men have a lot to gain.
Yeah.
Because I think that this culture where men have to be X, men have to be obsessed with sex, and men have to be, you know, the first thing they do before they talk about their emotions is fight.
Yeah.
I think that only harms them.
Oh yeah.
And then a lot of feminists are saying, let's move away from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's in the benefit of men, but men have to be open to that conversation happening.
Oh yeah. It's like, I mean, you get men's rights groups that just say, oh well, what about child support, and what about the male suicide rate? And it's like, actually, I do care about those things.
Yeah, I care about those things.
You just assume I don't.
care about those things. And I have a lot of guy friends, and I have a lot of compassion for them when they say, you know, I have a friend who is asexual.
Yeah.
And he feels like he feels ridiculed by guys.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to go out and have as much casual sex as possible. He doesn't want that for himself.
Yeah.
And that that's again something that we should talk about.
Yeah,
The way that
100%.
we assume men should have to be a certain way, act a certain way.
Definitely. I just think it's sad. It's like you hear people from men's rights groups, and the things they complain about are usually already covered by feminism, and you would know that if you just took the time to listen instead of deciding immediately because it's got the word feminist in it that it's against you. I'm not against you.
No, I'm not. We're basically
we want to help.
Working for the same thing.
Yeah, we are. It's just sad. It's like, instead of you know, saying bloody social justice warriors and bloody feminists and this and that, you know, feminazis is one I see all the time. It's like, I'm not a feminazi, I just don't want to be raped.
And it really, it's kind of an offensive thing to say, actually.
You know, I just think it's a shame, because we could get so much accomplished if we all just stuck together, but instead you want to take that position and just, you know, it's sad.
We touched a little bit on drag culture.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what it means to be? Because would you say that you participate in drag?
Sometimes when I go out. But the thing is, I'm always very hesitant, because I always kind of think I'm not gay enough to say I do drag. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the difference between someone who just dresses extravagantly and the difference between people that do drag is that drag its background is in gay clubs, and it wouldn't exist without LGBT people. So for someone who's not as in the midst of that as other people are, I'm kind of like, I love drag, but I don't know. I don't know if it's for me. So I feel like I could even dress up as a drag character, and I would be hesitant to say it's a drag character. I would just call it a character. But I've spoken to people who have been like, oh, but you're so into the community and you've got so many gay friends. So, like, you know, I've got gay friends that will straight up say to me, I'm not offended if you say you do drag. But then I think I'm so happy that, you know, that you feel that way. But at the same time, I don't want to... You
don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, because there might be someone who doesn't feel happy with it. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But I do definitely think LGBT women who participate in drag are drag queens. There is no debate about it. I do not see the problem there. Drag is based on women, so how can you not be a drag queen if, you know?
And I think that, you know, the difference is I don't look like that.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, I don't look like this. Like, it's all about creating a character and expressing again a story through makeup and hair and you know how you express yourself. And I think that gets a little bit lost. And I read a really interesting study. It was done by one of my friends actually, and she was looking at femininity in relation to queer women.
Right.
And it was looking at how a lot of queer women, when they participate in femininity, they almost feel like, even just femininity, like, you know,
putting your makeup on.
Yeah, exactly. They almost feel like they are participating in drag, and when they're around straight women, they feel apart from them.
Right.
Like, they don't feel like they get femininity as they do it. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but for a community that is composed of queer women, I can understand why drag appeals to them. I can understand why this kind of inversion of what society expects women to look like is attractive to women. And it's attractive to me to kind of like say, okay, society says that a woman looks like this. How can I make this as exaggerated and almost as sometimes ridiculous
Sometimes
as possible.
grotesque.
Yeah. How can I invert that and make fun of it
Yeah.
and explore that?
Yeah.
I think it's completely natural that women would want to explore that.
Yeah, 100%.
Who are some of your drag role models? Even male drag models.
So locally we've got two really good, they call them afab,
Yeah.
assigned female
Okay.
at birth queens, which I think it's called because it says fab
Yeah.
in the title. There's one called Lacey Lou, who's really cool.
And she has some really great conversations on being a woman doing drag.
Recently she was offered a deal with a company, and then they realised she's a cis woman, so they pulled out of the deal.
Which I think is absurd.
It's
I think
crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I think it shows like a complete lack of
Lack
knowledge.
of research.
Yeah,
do
lack of
research if you're going to work with
Yeah.
drag queens.
Yeah, a lack of research and a lack
Yeah.
of research into drag history. And this is going back to the responsibilities of the company.
Uh-huh.
I think it's very wrong to latch onto topics
Yeah.
just for sales
Oh yeah.
and just for the money that certain communities can give you, whether that's the black community or the LGBTQ community
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's dead wrong
100%.
to just, if you're not invested in bettering those communities, don't use our struggle and don't use our issues and our conversations to make sales. I don't get that.
I agree with you. I'm actually doing my dissertation on this.
Okay, so what are some things that you're kind of discussing?
Well, my dissertation has to be in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm looking at a little bit of it's more a problem in America than here. I
Okay.
think sort of Hispanic people in
Mhm.
campaigns and stuff,
Okay, yeah.
when they shoehorn things in
Right,
when
okay.
it doesn't really fit.
Okay, just to kind of...
Yeah, so for example, one of the case studies I'm looking at, there's an artist from LA, but he's Mexican. He's
Mhm.
called Cuco.
Okay.
And Red Bull have done a deal with him where he's remade one of his songs, but like, so before it's like a really trippy, slow song,
Mm-hmm.
and he's remade it as like a mariachi version
Okay,
with Red Bull.
right.
And okay, so you can follow me.
Mhm.
It seems to me like they're trying to shoehorn in as many different things as they can to like cover their bases. So he's Hispanic, so they've got a mariachi band. The mariachi band is an all-female band.
Oh my goodness.
Throughout the video, it has examples of different couples,
Mhm.
and there's like there's black girls, there's
Mhm.
fat girls.
Right.
I think there's probably a lesbian couple in there as
Mhm.
well for the LGBT representation.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they've got shots of embroidery patches on people's like clothes and
Oh
stuff.
my gosh, okay.
That say things like "I'm a proud fat woman," and it's like, what has Red Bull got to do with any of this? Honestly, and it's like, I didn't know, and it's under their YouTube channel called Red Bull Music and Culture or something like that.
Okay.
And it's like, what has Red Bull got to do with this, independent artist who makes trippy music? And I don't know whether Cuco went to them and said, I want to do something with a mariachi band who's all female, or whetherRed Bull have gone, oh, you're a Mexican artist,
Yeah,
so let's get a
try
mariachi band and let's make them all
yeah.
female. And let's see. I don't know what it is, but to me, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And it's like, the thing that I'm exploring in my dissertation is, when we have instances like this, is it good because at the end of the day it's still representation and it's still inclusivity, or is it exploitation?
Of a community,
Is it just pure exploitation and there is no benefit to it? So it's like those two levels. It's like, where is the line?
Yeah.
I think like cultural appropriation, it's another thing that's case by case, and
Where
you
is the line?
can't. Yeah, you can't just say this is bad or this is good.
I think that if you asked different people, they would come out with different responses to how they see it.
100%.
But I mean, like, there are plenty of companies who are simply just kind of getting on board
Yeah.
with the struggle
Yeah.
without actually contributing anything to ending this. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, what that says to me is that they almost want it to continue so they can continue making money.
Yeah.
And it's neither here nor there if they actually
have an interest.
Yeah, because I think that if you are going to say, I don't know, use gay rights as a way, or pride as a way to advertise, you need to be giving to charity.
Yeah.
And you need to be
working with people. You can't, I don't think either you can just ship your money off to a charity. You need to be
you
actually
need
working
to be on
with...
the ground and supporting initiatives and things like that do help actually end the problems that are coming about from being like marginalised. And I think I don't know how many companies. Can you think of any companies that kind of do it quite well?
Lush is quite cool.
Yeah, actually, I've had lot of good things about Lush.
Lush is one of those ones where I'm a bit like worried that it's too good to be true.
If there's something underground that we don't quite know about.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Gillette commercial that came out recently?
Oh my god! So I've had conversations with a couple of my guy friends about this because when it came out, I thought it was really good, and I was very confused about the backlash because I thought it's so massively unpopular. It's got to be something more than just bloody social justice warriors. I was thinking there's got to be something else. But the only answers I've managed to come up with are that it's patronising.
Right.
And then I think, okay, is it that it's not that people have a problem with the message, they just don't want to feel patronised? I don't know. I find it hard because I think they had really good intentions. And the other problem is people are saying it's not Gillette's place to say this kind of thing. And then the alternative is, well, it's good they're using their platform to say this kind of thing. So it's a really mixed bag.
But I mean, whose place is it to say this kind of things?
Yeah.
If not...
If not such an iconic brand from them. Yeah.
Whose place is it?
Yeah.
Because we can be... I think it's a very accessible brand. You know, not everyone is going to follow. Not everyone's going to read academics and people that are talking in. Not everyone reads the newspaper. Not everyone is engaged in social media.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're not necessarily following. So, actually, I feel like they did that quite well. And if I don't know if it was patronising because I wasn't the target audience.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I watched it and I thought, they've done it so
it was
well.
great, yeah.
I watched it and I was thinking, oh my god, they've really hit the nail on the head.
But is it patronising or is it that people just don't want to
hear it?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the thing.
Because
I think people had a problem with the scene where the kids were fighting and they were like, oh, you know, you're not allowed to play fight. But I took it as the kid was being bullied and they were stepping in.
And they were saying boys will be boys.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah. So there's definitely a mixed message there. I don't know.
I liked it. I think it came from a good place.
Yeah.
And it said, I think it distributed a message that was kind of only being distributed by, basically on social media platforms that not a lot
Probably
of people
by
engage
women.
with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you can argue, like, okay, like, why aren't you putting the voice of women in that place? But then I think there are a lot of guys that wouldn't necessarily listen to that.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I don't know if it worked. I don't know if there were guys that kind of sat back and thought about it.
Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of men would watch that and just dismiss it.
Yeah, straight away.
And be like, oh, I'm throwing out all... You've seen it all before, haven't you? Like, oh, I'm throwing out my Gillette razors.
Yeah, they're throwing it down the toilet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like when
don't take it out of the ocean.
When was it Nike supported
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people were kind of like destroying their Nikes, which was just...
It's like funny though, because I rate Nike for that because they knew that they would legitimately lose.
They would lose out. Because Nike, it's not like it's just black people that buy Nike.
Yeah.
It's white people and probably Republicans who don't support what Kaepernick is doing.
Yeah.
And they knew they would lose out, and they said, you know what, actually this is this is a bigger thing for us than our bottom line.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that hashtags work?
What, like Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter and Me Too and
Time's Up.
Yeah,
and all
things
that.
like that.
it's a mix, because I only ever see it used in headlines against these movements. I see Black Lives Matter at it again, and I see Me Too is at it again. I don't see often, I mean, like, I see it a bit, but I don't often see the rate of reported rapes has gone up because of the Me Too movement. You don't see those headlines as often.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's because it's just not being reported, or whether the actual stuff is working, but it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, I think it's good, obviously, that it opens a conversation, because you're not gonna have any sort of change in the world without conversation first, obviously. But at the same time, how much it actually does in the long run, I think it can be kind of damaging sometimes to a movement when you know, when there's a clash of opinion. Sometimes things aren't as black and white as they seem at once, you know, because you'll still have people that will today believe that Sandra Bland was a criminal and that she, you know, as horrible as it is, you've got people that believe that.
Yeah, of course.
So when you've got a hashtag, it becomes an assumed hive mind. It's not necessarily a hive mind of opinion, but people kind of think
everyone thinks that way.
Yeah. If you support this hashtag, then you believe that that black people can do what they want, and there's no, you know, all of this stuff that obviously isn't the case.
Yeah.
It's hard to, but then it opens up a space for discussion, which I think, like I say, is ultimately the best thing. I don't know. What do you think?
I think so. I kind of agree with you there, and I think that it's really difficult because we do need to have these conversations. I just don't know how much the internet is the best place for them. I think that a lot of nuance, but then at the same time, the internet makes these conversations so much more accessible because not everyone can be in, you know, lectures and universities where those conversations typically happened. So I do think that there is a benefit to them, but then I think a lot of nuance gets lost, and sometimes it becomes about certain people's egos as well. Like if you look at Black Lives Matter at the moment, there's a lot of discussion about a prominent Black Lives Matter activist. I'm not going to say his name because he is suing people.
I'm going to have to bleep out a lot. I've already sworn like 7 times.
He is suing bitches. He is suing people, so I'm not going to say his name, but there are a lot of discussions about, you know, his role in the movement, and whether it's been a positive thing, or whether for the movement as a whole, or whether it's been a positive thing for his ego. And I think that's one thing that can happen, but then that's the same with all movements.
It's hard. It's really hard. But I mean, I feel like what you're saying with nuance is 100% it gets lost over blogs and over tweets when it's text. But I feel like, you know, if this, what we're filming now, was broadcasted on ITV, if it was broadcasted to everyone in England, everyone in the UK, we would still receive a lot of backlash from people saying, these bloody feminists and all that. I feel like, you know...
Who are they trying to convert or whatever?
And I feel like nothing we've said is hostile today. Nothing we've said is... But I just know, inevitably, there would be some kind of backlash from whoever it may be.
I have a question. Speaking of backlash and speaking of... As a British woman, as someone who does speak Spanish, what is your take on Brexit?
My take is that we never should have had a vote on it. My take is that the option should have been outlined far more clearly before an idea of a referendum was even suggested. And I think a lot of people were lied to, which is sad. Some of us saw through it, some of us didn't. Some of us are completely in denial still that we've even been lied to. It's crazy. I do think it's not the public's place to vote on things that aren't so clearly... A, so big, and clearly so unclear. It's not as if... Okay, because you've got people within Leave that want one thing, and you've got people within Leave that want another. Yet they were, you know, clumped together in one option, leave the EU.
because there are valid reasons
Mhm.
about leaving the EU
Oh yeah, 100%.
that people on the left and the right have, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then there are reasons that I would say are maybe less valid reasons to leave the EU based on misinformation that people have been given through the newspapers.
Yes.
And I think that that's something, you know, people weren't given enough information.
Yeah.
And I think that's possibly a bigger problem in politics, is misinformation and basically, you know, things getting lost in agendas and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Do you think the future's positive?
No.
It's worrying, isn't it?
It's worrying, and then I kind of think there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
I genuinely stopped checking the world news because it was
Too sad.
too depressing.
So what do you think our duty is now as humans? What can we... Because I find that when I read the news and I'm hearing about Trump and this... I can't even keep up with that because there are so many things
He does
happening.
something every day.
And then he said Trump needs to go to prison. I'm like, well, what's he done? And then there's something else. And I'm like, no, what's he done now?
Yeah.
And then, you know, so there's Trump, and then there's Brexit, and then there's, goodness, everything going on in Brazil and everything going on in Venezuela. And
even I can't keep up with half of
no,
that, and that's
and
my degree.
no. And then, you know, so there's all that going on. There's things going on in Asia and Russia and all these things. And it's kind of like, well, what can I do to possibly... I can't change the world. I can't slow the world ending down.
You can't.
But what can I do to not... What can I do to be a good person and go to sleep? Do we have a duty to be a good person? Do we have a duty to do good things? Or the other argument, because I would say, yes, we do have a duty to be good and treat others kindly.
Yeah.
But then there's the other argument where actually, can we make a difference as individuals?
Yeah.
Or does it actually come down to governments and corporations? Is the onus on them? What do you think?
I think we do have very limited power,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. It's a sad one, but it's the case.
Yeah.
I can't knock on the doors of... I can't knock on 10 Downing Street and be like, hey, Teresa,
Please don't.
did you consider this? You know,
Yeah.
I don't have that power.
Mm.
And I feel like even protesting and creating petitions with tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of signatures, if the government doesn't want to do it, they're not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? They're just straight up not going. It's like selling arms to Saudi Arabia. Like, everyone knows that's wrong, yet we're out here doing it. And it's like, what can I do sat in my house doing my best to recycle my bottles of water and recycle all my paper? You've got Theresa May selling guns off that are being used to kill actual children. You've got, you know, oil spills from BP and all of these big companies, you know, just littering the ocean with everything. And it's like, oh, I took my own bag when I did my Tesco shopping this week, so I'm doing my bit. It's, in the grand scheme of things, it's hard to tell how much of an impact you're actually having, and it's just really difficult. And it's sad, it's pessimistic, but it is the case.
I think that we can do what we can. I think that there's no point in giving up and just not bothering at all.
Yeah.
So we can do what we can to, you know, be responsible as individuals, you know, not littering and trying to minimise the impact that we have on the environment. Obviously the onus does kind of fall onto corporations, I think. 100%. But we don't have to make that worse.
No, that's true.
We can try and do what we can. Do you think that we have a duty to be woke, as they call it, on the streets?
Yeah, 100%. I think change happens when we decide on something we're going to stop doing. It's like not everyone, a lot of people went vegan in January, just for January. Because it's not a case of, oh, I like animals. It's a case of, I read a statistic and I think it was, if we killed humans at the same rate we kill animals for food, the world would like be extinct of humans within like 3 days
Wow.
or something. It was something crazy like that. And it's, again, there's all the environmental benefits and stuff. So obviously, like, I mean, I know there's a lot of intense, how would you call it? There's a lot of intense veganism out there, which is why they have such a bad rap. But all like the vegetarians and the vegans that I've spoken to have always been very supportive and always been like, even cutting down and having meat 6 days a week instead of 7 is a massive change, you know. And I feel like that is the best attitude we can have. So I do think it is, we have a responsibility.
Yeah, to make. What would you say for you, if you had to advise? Not that we want to preach, but what would you say are some of the biggest changes
we should make?
Yeah, as individuals.
I think we should. For the advancement of equal rights, we need to be, like you were saying about men being more open, we all need to be more open. Because there's issues that you will go through as a person of colour that I will never go through in my life, just point blank. And there's things that I will go through that maybe you will never go through, point blank. I think we need to be more open when someone raises an issue before we, because even we do it, we see things online and we think that's a load of crap or whatever. You know, you're going too far now, you're asking too much. I think just before you do that, even just think about it for a minute, think about what they're actually saying, what the benefits would be and all that, before we dismiss it right away, no matter what the issue is. I think we have a responsibility to actually call things out as we see it. Because a lot of us are very silent when it comes to
especially
witnessing. Yeah, celebrities too. It's hard when it's your own family. When you've got the, you know, maybe the racist or the sexist family member at like Christmas or whatever. You hear about that a lot.
Them out, you know, like
if you can call them out,
if you're
power
in
to
a
you.
safe position to call your I've got family members who I disagree with on every fundamental front.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm in a position where I can say that's rubbish. That is not what you should say. That's not how we should treat people.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, that's excellent. But I know that not everyone is in that position where they.
It's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really hard because at the end of the day, family does mean a lot to many people. Not to everyone,
but to lots of people. And what message of hope can we give? Because it's
pessimistic, isn't it? Sorry.
Sorry about it. What message of hope? I would say that things are changing.
100%.
Attitudes. If you think back to
Malala Yousafzai is doing a degree in philosophy.
Yeah. And I think that attitudes are changing, and not everyone in our generation thinks that, you know, taking steps forward is the best thing.
Yeah.
But lots of us think the same way, that, you know, we should treat people equally, and we should treat the environment kindly, and we should make steps to be a more kinder and caring society.
Yeah.
So lots of people think that, and I think that we should always take heart in that, because that's a step forward. That's more than nothing. At least it's not us against the majority. I think the majority of people do want to take steps forward, and, you know, they are open to say. I mean, if we look at like 20 years ago, what it would be like to be a gay person compared to today, you can see that there have been steps forward, but we just need to keep making those steps forward. We don't need to be afraid of making more steps forward. So now, you know, it's kind of trans people and being open and accepting of trans people, and also making sure that we don't take steps backwards. When it comes to rights for gay people and, you know, LGBT people.
I mean, even within feminism, like if you watch nearly any film from the 80s, it's crazy when you think about it from a feminist perspective. Like I was watching The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
There's a scene where the school bully hides under the table and the girl sat at the table, the school desk.
Yeah.
And he's touching her.
Yeah.
And she's just sat there, obviously uncomfortable, but just
But
she
nothing
just
can happen.
nothing happened
Because that was the 1980s, whereas now, and I think a good example of this is if you watch a movie like that and you watch like a Netflix original,
Yeah,
and I feel like Netflix originals, they're not always great, but
they make an
a lot
effort.
of them, you know, they do talk about topics because they're able to make movies really, really quickly.
Yeah,
They're able to talk about the hot button topics of the day. So,
Sex Education's a really good
yeah.
one for anyone who hasn't seen it. Have you
So-
seen it?
I haven't seen it, but it's on my to watch list. But
Definitely
if you think
get on
about,
that.
if you watch any of the Netflix originals, they're talking about, and a lot of Netflix originals are also very, they have a lot of diverse casts as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I do agree with you. A message of hope. Things are changing.
yeah.
Because we can see it even within our lifetime. Like I say,
Mhm.
even in like films from the 90s, like the
Yeah.
years we were born and stuff, will have.
Even if you look at Clueless, which is my favourite movie, but then the representation of the gay character is kind of, it's so different, let's say,
Yeah,
to how that would be today.
yeah,
And I think we can take heart about that. As in,
Yeah.
things are changing, and I can't see them going backwards. At least, you know, in the media industry, that's always been a little bit more progressive, let's say, than the general
yeah,
world.
yeah. And the other thing is, like, as horrible as the internet can be, we have got the power to put things, like even
Putting
things
out
like
there.
this video now.
Yeah.
The fact that we've got the power to put this out there and people can find it and watch it is
Mm-hmm.
a sign of change, I think.
A sign of steps forward.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we're probably going to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me to chat with you and colour. Let's have a review.
Yeah,
of
let's
art.
have
Let me just colour this.
the colour reveal. Okay, we'll quickly finish.
Yeah. But I do think we can. I think we can end on a note of ultimate hope that the governments and the corporations may not necessarily be working with us
Yeah.
to achieve the goals that we'd like, but we, as individuals, if we come together and we support each other and we celebrate each other and we listen to each other, we can make some really good progress.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about, like you say, being open.
Together.
Yeah, togetherness, all of it. Just doing what you can, because, like I say, a lot of the time, unfortunately, we don't have that much power. So even doing what you can, it's a start. And if you make a change, it might inspire someone else.
To make a change, yeah.
Like I said at the beginning, you know, the people that inspire me the most are my friends, because I look at qualities in them that I don't have.
Yeah, and emulate them.
Yeah, definitely.
So with some kindness and some compassion and some love for other people, I think that maybe we can get through it. If not, if we can't change everything, we can get through it together.
100%.
Should we have a look at our outlook?
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I have
Go to this one.
burnt through 4 drawings. My first was my kind of tropical influenced, colourful rainbow,
She's so
dark
cute.
skinned Barbie.
I love her stockings. Like, I've got. This is
Is that
literally
Barbie
us.
as well? Oh, this is us.
This is literally us.
But then I think that you're more likely to wear that, and I'm more likely to wear this, right?
Yeah. Actually, you're right.
Although she is kind of wearing MAUDS, this Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May or may not have been inspired.
Yeah, that's right.
Go on.
And then we've got a little bit of Princess Peach.
I love her.
Dun.
I love the pink highlights you've given
Yeah,
her.
there's a lot of green going on today. And she has the same, I did that deliberately, right? She has the same eyeshadow as you.
Girl pals. Love it. We've got some power
A
puffs.
Powerpuff Girls. I couldn't remember the eye colours. I could barely remember the hair colours. There we go. We've got Clover. No, that's
Totally
fine.
I love it.
We've got
Is it
Buttercup,
Blossom?
Buttercup, and
Bubbles.
Bubbles. That one's Bubbles, right?
I think so.
And then I was
Thick
currently
fans.
working on a Lana Del Rey. It's a little bit Fresh Prince inspired, isn't it? If you
That is so Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
I love it.
It didn't start off as being Fresh Prince inspired, but it ended up being Fresh Prince inspired.
In West New York. I did Born This Way Gaga. Gave her some rainbow locks. Accidentally gave her a bruise. It's contouring.
That was the concert that she cancelled the Born This Way ball.
And then I drew Ariel as if, like,
She,
spent too much time with Ursula.
yeah, like a love child.
Yeah.
Poor unfortunate soul.
If Ariel was a poor unfortunate soul.
Yeah, in nude.
So yeah, these are our lovely drawings. It's like Gaga trying to hold her Grammy.
Yeah, oh! You're the Beyonce.
Why can't she hold them? She's so extra. It's because I coloured them myself.
It's because I'm tired from all the video games. Video games.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, thank you so much for watching, Tish. I love you. Thank
Love
you
you
so
too.
much. You can buy both of our t-shirts on the website now. Mine says Tamathochi.
Mine says sisterhood.
Yeah, for all the 90s spotties. See you next time.
Peace.
Thanks.